Hey everybody, and welcome to Libromancy, a podcast about the magic of books. I'm Josh, and today I'm going to be talking about The Toll, the third book in the Arc of A Scythe by Neil Shusterman. So let's resound with the magic of books. So, in a non-spoilery section, I really loved this book. I had an incredibly tough time putting it down. I started it, it hooked me very quickly, and then I continued reading it until way too late in the night, and I finished the book, and then I wrote down all my thoughts about it. It was a great book. Really loved it. There were a couple nitpicks that I have, and again, whenever I say these things that I don't like about the book, just remember they are nitpicks, and I did enjoy it. These are very small things that I just noticed as I was reading them, and that I wanted to share. So, again, it was super good, and if you remember last time I talked about how the Arc of a Scythe is a very appropriate series title for this series, that the first book really kind of is that build-up, and then the second book is kind of where you're like hitting the back end of your swing, and then you start swinging your scythe down. This book really does go full blast from start to finish, and it was amazing. So I really think in that kind of a way, he pulled off that Arc of a Scythe theory there, that it goes straight through. So, very good. Let's see. So, I'm really excited to read some other books by Neil Shusterman and see how I feel about them. I really liked them. You know, the plot went about as I was expecting it would go, which is good. The characters continue to be great. His writing continues to be this clean, crisp writing that really draws you in and gives you exactly what you need without feeling over the top, even if it might be. You know, my interest, obviously, I loved this book. Everything that was happening, I could understand. It all made sense, and it was so exciting. You know, and this one, I really thought he had some very excellent epigraphs, and at the same time, I thought some of these ones in this book were quite dreadful to me. I did not enjoy some of them, but on the whole, I did really like them. So, I think we're going to have to just move into spoilers here. It's too good of a book, and there's too much to talk about trying not to spoil anything. So let's just start off with our characters. Now, in this book, we really don't see a ton of Citra, Terra Nova, or Anastasia, Scythe Anastasia, and Rowan. We do see them, and we do get a lot of their points of view, but not as much as I would have liked. I really liked that the first book kind of was more Citra, and then the second book was more Rowan. Meanwhile, we're still seeing, both of their sides, and sides from other people, of course. So I was really hoping that this third book would be, Citra and Rowan together doing things, because as we know in the end of the second book, they are together. And I was really hoping for that, and I didn't get it. And I was a little disappointed by that, but at the same time, I really liked what we were given. I loved seeing Grayson Tolliver as the Toll. Yeah, a couple of things he did, taking over the Toll of them and kind of being weird and like, I'm going to be the only voice to the Thunderhead, which he was. But that felt really weird to me, that he would choose to do that versus just trying to help more people. But yeah, I'm guessing it was, things that are off screen, that the Thunderhead maybe told him, like the Tonists are important, and we do see later on that the Tonists are very, very important. So, and then, so in the book they said, whether it's 5 years or 100 years, you'll be free, you'll be safe in this tomb, and you'll be brought out and you can be revived. And so I was not expecting them to be rescued, within a year, and then come out into the world within 3 years. I was expecting like 5 years, 10 years, 100 years before they get dug up, and then they come out and they do the same things they did. But so I'm not opposed to that. It just wasn't exactly what I was expecting. So now, one character, I have to say, Jerry or Jericho, I liked this character, but I had a small issue with this character. Now, the thing that I have an issue with is that he is gender fluid. Now, that's not what I have an issue with. The problem with this I have is that This felt like a really well done character, very well thought out, very well portrayed, but it felt kind of out of nowhere to me. That maybe we'd gotten hints of the Madagascans and their ways before, but now we're seeing it. So I wish there had been either a little bit more foreshadowing that Jericho was coming, or that this is kind of how it was. It just felt tossed in there. But like I said, Jericho himself felt excellent. I loved their scenes. I loved the way they acted and their thoughts. Beautiful. Well done. Just the character itself felt a little thrown in. Almost like, to me, it felt like they had taken kind of a love interest for the Toll or Grayson, and like the captain of the salvage ship, and then we're like, this is too many characters, and so they just merged them into one. Which, whatever, I don't know how this character was written, but that was my only complaint about them. They were great in all the scenes they were in. I loved their motives, their desires. It was great. Now, Scythe Faraday. He has found the Atoll Islands. He is there, but he can't get in because he doesn't have a second Scythe ring. And I just really had a hard time seeing him be the one to say, I give up. I'm just going to live here and do my own thing. You know, the Thunderhead's bringing all this stuff in, but I'm just going to be on my own and kind of pout and whine. And I can see it. You've been trying and you can't get in and now you're stuck. But I never pictured him as a quitter. And that's really what it felt like he did to me, was he just quit. So other than that, loved Faraday. He was always a great one. Man, Rand and Goddard. Yeah, Goddard started out as my least favorite character, I have to say. Of course, he's meant to be. You're supposed to dislike him. He does mass gleanings, and is very ruthless, and everyone can see that in the reading side. But Rand, she is way worse than Goddard, because she self-justifies everything that he does and everything that Goddard does and everything that she does for Goddard to make it all okay in her mind. She knows that what she is doing is wrong, and that the way she gleans and the way that Goddard gleans is not right, and that he is a perversion of what is supposed to be. She knows it because she's visiting Tiger in the archive so she could talk with him who's dead. And I thought that was a great little piece of world building, by the way. But she knows, and she's so dissatisfied with her life since she brought him back. She's realizing how little he actually cares for her, and she refuses to stand up for herself and look at him unobjectively, even in the end. She's like, oh, well, I just did it because Goddard, was going to, I don't want to be associated with him anymore. Really? No, it's because he's doing something bad, but you can't admit it to yourself. So, Loriana, I really liked her, the Nimbus agent who kind of takes shadow control over the island and is running things behind the actual, in quotations, leader. That was really great. The Thunderhead, I love the personality of the Thunderhead. I can't break this rule, so I'm just going to merely suggest strongly that you should travel, maybe go on a walk, maybe visit another tone. And then he puts him in a bath. He's like, draw me a bath, Thunderhead. And the Thunderhead starts the bath, and the water is super scalding hot. And I'm like, oh man, Grayson, you're in hot water. Get it? And Grayson doesn't get it. And it was just hilarious. And then he figures out, oh, it's a Scythe coming to get me because the Thunderhead can't talk to me right now because I'm in the presence of a Scythe and it can't interfere. So, loved the characters. One other thing about Citra and Rowan, I loved that their love persists, that they care for each other, they truly love each other, they want to be together, they work towards it, they fight for it, they do everything they can. I was a little hesitant to say that yes, Citra would just give up being a Scythe, and Rowan would give up being a Scythe just for them to be together on the spaceship, of course. I mean, it seems like every book I read recently, the last couple have all ended in a spaceship taking colonists off-world, and I'm not going to spoil what other book it was, but it seems to be a common thing now. So it felt like she was changing, giving it up, but when you look at it, she really is just focusing on what's always been important to her, and that's Rowan. The Scythe thing was important to her, but not as important as that. So that one didn't really throw me off too much. But yes, the spaceships that he's building, because we learn that Goddard has been behind all, and some other Scythes, but mainly Goddard has been behind all of the space age failures. The Mars colony was a mass cleaning. The moon, the orbital station, the reason he's always going after scientists related to space in the first book, it all makes sense. Because in his arrogant, stupid little mind, if the humanity expands to the stars, then there's no need for scythes. And it's like, well, maybe that's true. Maybe there is no need for scythes. But it's not your call, man. You should have just stayed in your lane. You should have never been made a scythe in the first place. You're a horrible excuse for a human being, and I'm glad that you're dead. Very glad he died. The final death in the end. And I loved that Rand brought Tiger back. Even though it's not Tiger's head, she still is able to supplant that and put him back with the Thunderhead's help, I'm assuming. So I thought it was really good. Now, I'd been told that the ending was really weird, that this book is much different than the other ones. I didn't feel that too much. Now, maybe it was different, but it wasn't as weird as I was kind of expecting it to be. But I can see where it would turn people off. The Thunderhead building spaceships, and then the Scythe rings all exploding and creating the black nanites, I guess is what I'll call them, that cull 5% of the population, indefinitely every 20 years, which I thought was kind of weird when I was first reading it. I was like, wow, they only go off once every 20 years? That's weird. I kind of thought they'd be going off slowly and they'd kill 5% over a 20-year period. But, oh well, that was really good. I liked that failsafe. I mean, why even trust the Scythe? They couldn't even last 260 years before screwing things up for themselves. I mean, maybe it's an amazement that they got to 260 years, but only 260 years. Man, I thought that the age of mortals was much farther back, and maybe I shouldn't have thought that, because it does tell us lots of things that are relatively recent, but to me it was 1,000 years back. And so, man, that was cool though. I like that there's a tone, it goes off, it breaks all the rings, and then kind of everybody's available to die. So, and I loved that the Thunderhead creates is AI, and we've been seeing it through the epigraphs that he's trying, and the first ones are abject failures, and then they start getting better, and then he finally gets one right after he kind of possesses Jerry and has a human experience and can feel it, and then the Thunderhead creates Cirrus Alpha. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And this AI is not bound by any of the laws. So it can talk to scythes. It can work death. It can grab the dead who have been gleaned and stuff them on a spaceship to be a colony ship for the future. That was really cool. Well thought out. How are you going to get so many people on these spaceships to last so long? This journey of 1,000 years, a couple hundred years. The way you do it is you have them be dead already as cargo, you revive them, you supplant their memories, and they're new colonists. That was amazing. I was a little confused. You didn't leave a single Cirrus on Earth with the Thunderhead, so he could kind of have somebody else to hang out with and ward them if a Scythe was on their way at the last second. No, well, that's very foolish. I think that was the one mistake that Thunderhead made, was sending all the Cirruses into space, or not creating an extra one to hang out with. So, I loved it. It was such a fun book. Like I said, I really had a hard time putting it down. I loved Anastasia and her videos going through all of the space wreckage and showing hey, look, here's Goddard. Here's where the Thunderhead said, can't retrieve the bodies because it was a Scythe that did it. And it was just amazing. All of the parts coming together and finishing out in the end strong. It was a great ending to a great series. I'm really excited that I read it. So I wanted to just say, poor poor Astrid, the tonist. She believed so hard, and she's the only one on that rocket ship for 1,000 years. Oh boy, that is going to be a long, long time. And poor Rowan, again, they have time to be together on the spaceship, and Citra gets killed by some shrapnel. Now, luckily, they still make it on the plane. I thought maybe that was like a signal they weren't going to make it, but he did, but he wasn't able to revive her. I felt for poor Rowan. Just his conversations with Cirrus, it was so funny. Cirrus, his favorite phrase, I know what it is, even in just such a short book, it's actually no. He says that so many times. It was hilarious. I loved seeing the word actually, because I knew it was going to end in no. So I'm all alone. Actually, no. You'll be here with me. And like blah, blah, blah. It was great. I loved that. It was so fun. So I think that's going to wrap up everything I have to say about The Toll, the third book in the Arc of a Scythe series. Hey, and before I go, I just wanted to say that it was really, really good to see an AI story where the AI doesn't go crazy and try and murder everybody and just continues to love and want to help everybody. And go Grayson at the end, Mike dropping on the Thunderhead when he says, "Hey, are you ever going to forgive humanity?" Well, eventually. Then I'll forgive you too. Crush the transceiver. That was so great. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks to David Hilowitz for the intro and outro music. If you have any questions or comments or books you want me to read, send them or the name of them to libromancypod@gmail.com. Working on my calendar, of course. It's always a work in progress because life is usually getting in the way of what I can and can't read. So, please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. Leave a review. Really helps out. And remember to reverberate with the magic of books.